Hi everybody and welcome back to Dusty Book Sniffers. I'm Nicole and today we are going to be doing a little bit of a flip through and talking about my April reads and doing my wrap up while I'm just doing my journal basically. So let's get into it. Alright, so I'm pretty new to a reading journal. I started keeping one last year and I pretty much failed at it. Mainly because I got obsessed about it having to be pretty and having different spreads every month and all that sort of stuff. Well, that doesn't really work for me. So I now have set it up so it actually works a little bit better for me. And each of my monthly spreads are pretty much the same layout but slightly different. I might put color theme them or stuff like that, like I try to theme them to the month, if that makes any sense at all. So I thought I'd do a little bit of a flip through and show you what I have in the front of mine, and then I will talk about my April reads when I am finishing off my April layout and while I'm starting to do my May one. Alright, so basically what I do is I have collected some papers and I've got stickers and I've got die cuts and I look to Pinterest for pictures and stuff like that. I also use my printer for I'm printing out my fonts, and you'll see that in just a moment. And then I just sort of colour them in or use a bit of ink and stuff like that. Like I've got stamp pads and everything in front of me. I've got all sorts of textures and all that sort of stuff. So that's what I sort of do for mine. So I don't get creative and draw my layouts or anything like that. So let's start the flip through. I got this journal from Amazon and I think it was like $20 or something like that. And then I just put in the ribbon, I just put a little zipper pull that I make. I've got in here, I bought this from someone else and I make these zipper pulls as well. And that's just on there so I know that that's my reading journal. Alright, so I've made it pretty simple. I found this on Pinterest and I just absolutely fell in love with it, so I just made it my title page, and then I've just written in my own handwriting reading journal for 2022. So the first layout that I have, and I haven't updated it yet, is actually my daily reading challenge. So I try to read every single day. Obviously you can see I've missed a couple days there, here and there. April was a really good month for reading. I didn't miss any days at all, so I was pretty happy with that. And May is shaping up to be the same. I do make a note of it by updating on my Goodreads so I can go through and have a look at the dates, and I also make a note of it in a little like tiny little notebook that I've got beside my bed. So I've got that laid out, and I just use some stamps here and and then just put some color to it, and then I'm just using my pencils to color in each of the months. The next one is pretty much a standard bookshelf, or bookshelfie as I call it, and I've drawn some plants. I am getting better at drawing and stuff like that, so I do try to make an effort with that. So you can see here that I've just written down all the books that I've read so far this year, and I coloured the books in just to give it a little bit of colour as well. I don't have many left, so what I'll do once I get to this being full, wherever I end up between some of the months, so I'm pretty sure that this will be filled in by the end of May. So between May and June I will put or possibly between June and July, and then that'll break it up into 6 months, and then any sort of spreads that I'm running out of room on, I'll be able to put another one in there, and there'll be another one I'll show you in just a moment. Alright, then I've just found some pictures. As I said, I like to find things that really sing to me on Pinterest, and then I just print them off. And then I've got my 22 in 22 books, and I've just put some paper down and drawn some boxes. This is pretty standard. Most of my 22 in 22 is actually new releases, and you can see here that I've got dates underneath the ones. I've got a couple of classics that I want to read, and then there's a few that I've already read. So the ones that are marked in are already read, and then the ones with the dots are the ones that I have got on my bookshelf, and the little S means that it's on Savannah's bookshelf, so I don't need to buy it. Okay, and then I've got dates underneath that I need to get that weren't in bookstores when I've gone to the bookstore. The next one is Dee Dee's reading challenge. So I started doing this in my crafting group, hence why it's got Dee Dee's, which is Divinely Design Studio. And we have our little reading nook over there. And so this was a first quarter, and I read all the books for that. And this is the next quarter. And once I've read the book, I'll mark it off so I know that it's done. And then I've got, for the second half of the year, I've got 2 pages set aside for that. The next one is my A to Z reading challenge, and so you can see here that I've been filling it in. I do have a couple that I've actually put in here that are on my 22 and 22, and all they are actually read-alongs that I haven't finished yet, and I know which ones those are. So I've got Gone with the Wind, which is still in progress. Jane Eyre, which is on my to start, and that's it. I think everything else I have read. Yes, everything else. So those 2 are still in progress. This here was something a little bit different that I wanted to do. So this has got 96 books on it, and I'm actually going to do a little like a flip out page for this, because obviously I'm going to be reading more than 96 books this year. I'm already up to 62, and I do have to go back and have a look at the genres for these. And so I've got the main genres that I read are crime fiction, true crime, romance, fantasy, young adult, classics, literature, self-help or non-fiction, and memoirs. So once I've read a book from that genre, then I will just colour it in, and this is just my colour code. It's a little bit messy, but I don't care, it's for me. Alright, so here we have our my favourite monthly read. So this is my favourite book, and I've actually got 2 layouts for this. One is just my favourite books, which is the book covers that I'm putting on there, and then the next one will be actually like a tiered system, so I find out which is my favourite book for 2022. So I will just grab my tape and stick this in as we're going past. Alright, so I just used my double-sided tape for this. I've got a little board that I use. It is very gross, but it works for keeping the So I'll just stick this in. So April's favourite book for me was The Binding by Bridget Collins. I read 2 books of hers in the month of April, and this book I loved. Her other book, which was Betrayals, I didn't like at all. Alright, so that is my favourite read for April, and now that's stuck in. And so basically each month I will just put my favourite book. This one here is I Like Big Books. As the title suggests, it is big books, over 500 pages. I originally had it over 600, but most of the big books that I read were over 500, so I thought I'd bring it back down to that. So as you can see, I've already read 4. I read 2 in, and I've dated them, so you can see there I read 2 in February, but I didn't read anything in March or April that was big, so I've still got plenty of room. And I've also left an extra 2 pages for that, because I figured that I'd at least get 1 in a month. So I've got a couple of books that I'm reading slowly, working through. So Gone with the Wind, which started on the 1st of May, is also a big book. Like, it's got over 1,000 pages in it. And I'm also reading The Pickwick Papers by Charles Dickens, and that's got like 800 pages in it. And I actually started The Pickwick Papers at the beginning of or the middle of April, so that was sort of April's one, and I didn't have anything in March that was big. So yeah, so they'll end up on there, and I'm hoping that I'll have enough room for 12, and if I need any more space, as I said, I will just put it in the middle of the book to split the book in half of 6 months, so the front half of the year and the back half of the year, if that all makes sense. Okay, this one here, I actually got this from, I think I got it from Pinterest or YouTube, I can't remember, and I, for the life of me, cannot find the video again. So this one is like to find out what my favourite book is for the year. So each month I put in my favourite book. So you can see here I've got The Name of the Wind, The Book of Longings, It Ends With Us, and The Binding. So that's January, February, March, April. And then from the first 2 months, my favourite book ended up being The Book of Longings. And then out of the Ends With Us and The Binding was actually my favourite. And then out of those two, I will ponder that for a little while and work out which. I'll think it over. I really want to read this book again, so I'm thinking that I am leaning towards The Binding, and so that will come down into that bracket. And then by the end of the year, I will have these three here to pick from, and then I will just really sit back and think about why I like the books and do a pros and cons list of each of the books, and then end up with my favourite book for the year, which last year I actually did as a giveaway on the channel, so you'll have to keep an eye out for that. All right, the next one is where we go into our monthly spreads. So each month I like to start off with just a little bookish saying, and then I've just got a little calendar here that I draw up myself, and then I just write in the books that I have, like the day that I finish the book, so it gives me a reminder of what I was doing and when. Now, yes, I do have blank spots here. That doesn't mean that I didn't read on that day. It's just that it took me a little bit longer to read a book. And I also put in all of my bingo days as well, so I know that I've got those are my bingo prompts, and I can go back and look at that. All right, the next is my to be read and monthly stats and my book covers. So as the name suggests, to be read, so I have a list of that, and then I've got my monthly stats, so the books that I read and the amount of pages. And then over on this page I put my January reads, and I just put the book covers, and I really liked the simplicity of this layout. I was originally going to do them like a bookshelf, but I decided that I didn't want to do that, and I just went with the book covers instead. And I originally got the idea, not technically for this layout as such, but I got the idea for the book covers from Books with Chloe, I think it is. She's another Australian booktuber. And then I end my month with another gorgeous picture, and just something that pops out to me. I'll just do a scan through bookish stuff and quotes and stuff, but I like a little picture at the end. And then I've got my favorite book quote. Originally this was going to be my favorite book cover and have it bigger, but I ended up going with the smaller option. And then basically I take that quote and then I just put what book it was from down here and the month that it was in, so I know that this is January. And I just use washi tape and ripped paper and just make it what it is. And pretty much that is how I've got each month laid out. So pretty simple. I don't have to think about it each month, but I go and find a different picture for it, and I sort of try to make it a little bit cohesive. Sometimes I miss the mark, but I don't care. I just sort of play around with my stuff. As you can see, February wasn't a big reading month for me, and I also tick off the different books that I've read. So I didn't read Fingersmith in February, and because February is the month of love, I sort of made it a little bit pink, and I was sort of playing around with outlining, which I didn't end up liking. And then I just filled in, I've got some stickers, some die cuts, and then again I've got my monthly stats. And so I've got a few things that I still have to stick in. So I've got my quote, and I just, as I said, I basically just pull something out of a book. So this one was out of the Book of Longings, and it was actually, it wasn't a quote as such, but it was actually the author's notes, and it was just that if Jesus actually had a wife and the history unfolded exactly the way it has, she would be the most silent woman in the history, and the woman that most need of a voice. And the reason that resonated with me is because so many women in our society are silenced for whatever reason, and I just really felt that resonated, because for those that don't know, the Book of Longings is actually about Jesus's wife, Anna, and so that just really resonated with me, and I just thought I needed to put that in there. So basically all I do with that is I just put a little bit of ink around the outside, sort of similar to what I've done, and I'm not sure what color I'm going to put here. I'm thinking that I might do it very similar to the January one. with the browns and stuff like that. I'm not too sure. Maybe the pinks. I don't know. We'll see how we go. And then basically I've just gone on with that. So you can see here, this is green. So that's sort of depicted. And plus it's St. Patrick's Day. Again, I've just filled it in. I got a little bit haphazard with this, and I didn't write in a straight line. But I got everything red except for the Pickwick papers, which I started in March. There you go. And the Slice of Heaven, which I didn't get. And I've just put little clovers everywhere. And again, I've got my quotes. And this one here was from It Ends With Us. So this one was actually from my favourite quote. And then I will just pop that in. I might have to trim it down a little bit. And yeah, and I just pop that in there. And again, I've finished with that. And then April, I had a little bit of a mishap with my ink. It wasn't dry properly. So I just sort of scuffed it a little bit. And as you can see, I've got this beautiful piece of art. And I've matched my washi tape with it. It's a little bit more cohesive. And so, yeah. And then we've got all of the books that I read. So we're going to stick those in. And then we'll do our monthly stats, and then we will move on to the May. So you can see there that I start to draw out what I need, and I've got my book quotes and all that. So that is how I set out my my reading journal. And as I said, when I get between, which I decided here on the video, when I get between June and July, I will put another bookshelf in, and I will probably put another what do you call it, the one where I'm marking it out. Where is that? Next to my ABC. So well, let me just have a look where it is. There, this page here. I'll probably put another page in there. So these are my Goodreads things. Alright, so let's get started by sticking in all of my April ones, and I'm probably just going to put little flowers around it as well. Alright, so this is when I bring my little, I've got all my little books printed out, and then I'll just, basically all I do is, with these I don't tend to use the tape, I tend to use the glue for this, and then that way I don't get tape everywhere, because for some reason I just get so messy. And I don't put them in any sort of order either. I just put a bit of glue on, and then I just start at the top and I just start sticking them down. Okay, so I read 18 books all up, so I just write that down in here, and I read 5,420 pages. 5,420 pages. And so I popped that in there. And then that, and I've put, as you can see, you would have seen, I've put in the title of the book where I've taken my favourite quotes, and that is April done. Okay, so that's pretty much how I do it. And then basically we now move on to onto May. Right, so that is my May monthly layout. All I have to do now is put my book covers in of the books that I read and tick off the ones that I have. But as this little picture here says, time spent with cats and books is never wasted. Have a great day, everybody, and I'll see you all again next time. Bye for now.